Hey everyone, small switch is always a good switch, so Ohad, please join me. And Achim, thank you so much. And Olaf should be joining us online any moment, so because of the schedule change, we are Israelis, we like changes. So I wanted to take the opportunity, and when we met briefly a few minutes ago, we said, let's keep it short and fun. And Achim said, fun? I'm German. So, Ohad and I figured that that's the main reason why in both of our funds we have Israeli team members, although they're based in Germany. So let's keep it a little bit broader and a broader conversation about the DACH region. So maybe let's take firstly 1 minute to introduce ourselves. So Achim, would you mind starting, please?
Sure. Am I on? Yes, I'm on. My name is Achim Hartig. I'm working with Germany Trade and Invest. And Germany Trade and Invest, it's a company that has two dedications. One is to help German companies to do export. I'm not here because of that. I'm here for the other reason, to help Israeli companies to come to Germany and set up a physical presence over there. We are an organization which is responsible for the whole of Germany. That means we have a governmental mandate, and we're absolutely neutral. That means we are looking at all the federal states and all the institutions in Germany in the same way. So naturally, we are one of the first points of contact for companies when they want to come to Germany. And 1 minute is short, so I'll just say currently the German industry is going under transformation, and we help transforming the German industry by attracting those companies who might see a market in the respective technologies.
Perfect. Ohad, can you go next, please?
Thanks. Hi, my name is Ohad Maman. I'm a partner at Future Energy Ventures. Earlier this year, we announced the first closing of our new fund, 110 million euros first closing out of a planned fund size of 250 million. But we're not exactly a new fund. Up until last year, we were the corporate VC of E.ON, one of Europe's largest operators of energy networks and infrastructure. E.ON operates 1.6 million kilometers of grid and serves roughly 50 million customers in Europe. And we invest typically in software and digital solutions around energy tech, built environment, mobility, and generally technologies that have significant decarbonization impact. And the team is based in Germany and additional locations in Europe, but we also have a team here in Israel and the US, so investing both in European companies and also Israeli startups.
Amazing, thank you. Olaf, thank you for joining us from remotely. Please, if you wouldn't mind introducing yourself.
Yeah, my pleasure. Thanks for having me, and best regards to Tel Aviv. It's unfortunate that I can't be there, but at least I can join by video. So I'm Olaf. I'm part of a venture capital fund based in Berlin, Germany, and an office in Boulder, Colorado, United States. We predominantly invest in food tech, so we do believe that the transition of the food system is one of the biggest challenges of our times, and at the same time, one of the biggest opportunities. So we do invest in all protein, functional food, food waste reduction. We have so far conducted 8 investments, quite a number in Germany, like Blue Farm and Craftling, a few in the United States, like Partake and Jam. Just recently, one in France, called La Vie, which is the most delicious plant-based bacon. If you ever come to France, you need to taste it. And then we're working with a couple of companies from Israel, because I do believe Israel is one of the pioneers in food tech, so I'm glad to join you this morning.
Thank you, Olaf. Gili asked for active moderation, so I need to be active and also introduce myself. My name is Esha Lipman. I'm a venture partner with Extantia Capital, or in the more German way, Extantia. We are a deep tech, ClimaTech fund based in Berlin. We're about to close a 200 million euro fund. We are Article 9, which means that we invest only in things that can really move the needle, startups that can abate at least 100 million tons of CO2 per annum per company, which means usually hardware and means usually really innovative stuff, but things that can actually be relevant sooner than later, because we need to remove that carbon, or at least avoid releasing it today, not in 2050. In Israel, we have 3 investments, Repair, Luminescent, and H2 Pro, and we are actively looking to do more investments. So let's not waste time. Olaf, I would like to start with you, if that's fine. So the title of this session is From ClimaTech to FoodTech, Post-Hype Opportunities. And it's amazing when you meet people every day. One person will claim, no, it's a bubble, it's very trendy, climate is trendy, FoodTech is trendy, but someone else would say, no, it's completely the opposite. So, and I'm not a big expert in FoodTech, so Olaf, we're very glad to have you here. Especially because capital markets and the sentiment for FoodTech, companies like Oatly, for instance, has and beyond, is not as performing well as they used to. How much do you see the recent VC activity in the field is still keeping up the hype for FoodTech? And was the expectation slightly have been too high?
Triggered by the setback of valuations for Oatly and beyond. By the way, let's not forget that the 2 companies have been pioneers in making customers aware that alternative products can be as tasty and good as the original. However, I would say the capital market, like a lot of times, exaggerated the potential of those pioneers. And I think we have seen a setback, which probably is a bit back to normal. But by no means it does mean that the trend is reversed. So consumer preferences towards more sustainable product and more healthier product is intact. And we've seen growth throughout the calendar year 23 in Europe and the United States in many categories. And there's a new generation of products coming, convincing much more customers. So that's number 1. Number 2, we have a protein gap in a few years, particularly in Asia. We will not be able to supply enough protein to the consumers in need. So therefore, there is an infrastructure issue here, which, number 3, is taken care by governments. I think Singapore has been the pioneer in declaring 30 by 30. Today, they have 2% self-supply of food into Singapore. By 2030. They want to get to 30%. I think this is the most iconic government action initiative that is securing the future of food supply for their people. So food security will be one of the biggest drivers. So I do believe that for VCs, the time can't be better. There is a spree of innovations from throughout the world, a lot of stuff, good stuff, great stuff happening in Israel. Valuations are attractive because of the momentum in the sector. So quite frankly, for everyone in food tech, the time is now.
Perfect. I'm getting hungry for the next food alternative meat solution. Just to mention that I think that it's also true for the Israeli ecosystem, because the IIA, the Israel Innovation Authority, have invested more than 60 million shekels into a single R&D center that they've been developing now, and it's really good to see that how the government is really committed to advance the R&D in that sector. So let's transition from FoodTech to ClimaTech. Ohad, first of all, congratulations for your first closing. It's really exciting, and especially as you are actively investing both in Europe and in Israel. It would be really interesting to understand, because you have this very interesting perspective, what are the differences in climate and energy tech between, let's say, the Israeli market and the DACH or the entire European sector? And maybe if you can elaborate, who are you? Are you a CVC, a corporate venture fund? Are you a VC? What makes you unique?
Okay, so you asked 2 questions. I'll start maybe with the ecosystems. I think if you, from a VC perspective, I think it would be a fair statement to say that energy tech, you know, the ecosystem, the energy tech ecosystem in Europe versus the Israeli one, definitely the European ecosystem is more mature, it's more advanced. I don't think it's a controversial statement. And I think there are several differences. Some, you know, might be also reasons why this, you know, this happens. First, I would say just look at the markets, right? Everything starts with basically with the sector, with the commercial markets, and the energy sector in Europe, the market itself is more sophisticated, multiple players, more advanced. And, you know, the Israeli market has been relatively, you know, I wouldn't say primitive, but have one utility, governmental company for many years. It's just now starting to, slightly develop. So that invites innovation. That, incentivizes founders to look for, interesting solutions, explore the problem space, and so on. Look at flexibility markets, for example. That's relatively new, very
for
exciting.
Israelis, they don't know what it is.
Exactly. So that's the thing. I mean, we invested in a company called Piccolo in the UK. Very interesting, relatively first mover in that space. But when you look at the ecosystem, you have regulation, you have market trends. So that invites founders to basically to build solutions and companies, right? I think also access to utilities, just access to the market is difficult for Israeli companies. Small startups, it's very challenging to get access to these large industry players, and you also don't have a lot of them in Israel. So that, again, if you compare European founders to Israeli founders, they just have better access to utilities. Last difference, I think, just Israeli ecosystem is more focused on hardware and advanced materials, and I think it's an opportunity as well because historically Israel has been a very strong software hub. I don't think there's a reason why it shouldn't be as advanced in energy as well. And you asked about the fund. So as said, we were investing as a corporate VC for many years, and now I think with this new setup, we're kind of trying to bring the best of both worlds. Just be independent, fast-moving, standard VC, but also have the access to the market leader like Eon, and support companies with access to utility like that. That's what we're trying to bring to the table.
I hope you'll get a very relevant and very interesting deal flow of companies really thriving to scale via utilities. Trust me, it's not easy. And I have to slightly contradict you. I think that Israel is actually very strong with hardware, and we need to find a way to elevate the specific companies that can really move the needle.
No, I said I think there's a strong focus on hardware, and I would love to see more software, innovation and talent, because Israel also has these capabilities, So
Definitely. We're lucky to have you, so you can actually educate us better. Thank you for that. Achim, great to see you.
Thanks.
Problematic name in Israel.
I know what it means.
I know, exactly. Trust me, my name is also difficult for Israelis. So, as the institutional side of our panel, we really see how the change Olaf discussed about the governmental infrastructure for FoodTech, and we also see a lot of investment of the government into infrastructure from that are happening and basically enabling the energy transition or the energy vendor. What do you see as the most clear projects that maybe 10 years ago would have been considered innovation, and today they are part of the incumbent infrastructure? And what are the best way to fund those?
Good question. Well, Germany is undergoing a huge transition in the energy market, and the energy prices, by the way, they are at a low. They are low energy prices. They are like before the COVID pandemic, meanwhile. Also, thanks to the dissemination of renewable energies, because producing energy with renewable energies costs close to nothing, and what we have to pay is just the difference to have energy produced with fossil fuels for the transitionary period of time. So to transform this infrastructure in Germany to become more carbon neutral, we have to look at different vectors, and these different vectors also offer investment and business opportunities for Israeli companies. One of the major vectors is, of course, directly in the renewable industry, and generating renewables is a large field, being it with photovoltaic, where Germany, by the way, exceeded the expectations everyone had beforehand when it comes to photovoltaic deployment in Germany. Our objective is to have 80% renewable energy in 2030, and we are ways ahead of our plan with that. In the last year, we had more than 50% renewable energies in the grid in Germany. That means that not only companies are doing business in the renewable sectors and are being successfully, but also it's been supported by funds like we have, for example, here. We have opportunities for finance, there are European schemes and also German schemes on the way to support these kind of industries that invest into it. But the renewable energy production or storage or distribution, these are only a few vectors where you can enter in, but also it's about energy efficiency. And energy efficiency is something which applies in all of the industries, meaning it's not only about insulation, that you don't lose heat, it's about software, for example. Software which helps your processes to become more efficient, hence wasting less energy. Also, it's about artificial intelligence, again, in the end, leading to processes become more efficiently, but also connecting value and supply chains in a more intelligent way, saving carbon dioxide on the whole customer and goods journey. And there are really a number of business opportunities for Israeli companies, either in the small segments of these numerous value chains, or as a bracket function when you have meta platforms where you can organize huge cycles of production or R&D. I a little bit avoided your question about institutional finances, just mentioning it on a side note. It's because that currently in Europe and in Germany we are undergoing this transition, and there is money available to fund these kind of projects. And we as an organization, as a governmental organization, we are in the position to help Israeli companies, of course, to find a path through this jungle of finances. We are very well connected with the German associations, for example, of venture capital and private equity companies. Those can make connections to guys like you, and we have a rich ecosystem, by the way, of venture capital and private equity partners in Germany, also ready to invest in these companies. Meaning, to conclude, we have on the financial side the means to invest in your technologies. On the other side, we have the market where we can deploy in a variety of value chains that what you might have to offer on a hardware side or on a software side to innovate the transition of the industry in Germany.
That's quite exciting. Any startup which is about to become an infrastructure grade project, that he has a technology which is mature enough, can actually access to a lot of capital to fund those first of a kind. First of a kind is the award of the year for ClimaTech of 2023, which means basically the first project that you can actually duplicate and reduce the risk for the more traditional backers. Let's try to speed up a little bit because we don't have a lot of time. I want to use the opportunity, and if we talked about the post-hype, let's talk about the next hype. Maybe quickly, the three of you, what do you think are the focuses that entrepreneurs and startups should now start develop the next company of theirs? And what will be the topic that will be the biggest hype in 2030? Olaf, maybe let's start with you.
Yeah, well, I hope it's not going to be a hype, because a hype has a connotation that it is not that real. So I think what we should expect in food is that for the next 3-4 years, you will see a rise of new ingredients that can be industrialized. And in combination with some of the very well established and industrialized fermentation processes, you will see hyperscale. You will see the opportunity to create very yummy and very healthy ingredients that are the basis for new consumer products. So once you see that validated, and I would predict you will see the validation within the next 24, 36 months, you will see a race of people getting a chance to take advantage of this and leveraging this. So like always, once the hype is over, we think it's not going to be big. And then we underestimate how big it's going to be. And I think it's going to be huge.
Thank you. Hype is definitely a problematic word, but you can blame Gili for the topic. Achim, how about?
Okay, no hype. Germany has more than 3 million companies, so if there's a hype, it takes a while to go through all these companies, and it will stay in Germany, which offers a lot of business opportunities again. But the hype is definitely going to be around artificial intelligence, because it's so ubiquitous in the application, be it in the biotechnology, where you can design molecules or chemicals according to your needs. This is a huge thing which I really want to encourage you to come to Germany for that. Also, in the terms of circular economy, we have to maintain, we have to keep the precious metals, the precious minerals which we have in our batteries, for example, in Europe, in Germany, and technologies to efficiently extract and keep all those resources in the process in Europe. That is also important, and it's also a huge field to invest in, which is currently now growing a lot, as we see from investments coming to Germany.
Ohad, what about your opinion?
Achim stole my answer. So, no, we didn't align on the answers. I think I fully agree. I think that critical minerals is going to be, everybody's talking about renewables and it's like super mainstream, but it's a bit overlooked, the fact that there's a big gap with critical minerals. There's estimates that by 2040 you need a 6-fold increase in mineral input, and I think yes, AI for exploration is definitely one aspect of that. Also, just more sophisticated recycling technologies, anything that can help bridge that gap, because otherwise, we want to deploy more and more renewables, but there's going to be a big shortage of critical minerals, so I agree.
So I can say both of you stole my answer. But it's very clear that to do the energy transition, you need to build a lot of infrastructure and a lot of new infrastructure, and that means a lot of those raw materials. I will add that I find both the entire transmission and distribution or grid fascinating, because eventually we need to bring the energy from when it's produced in a renewable manner exactly to where it is being consumed. Here in Tel Aviv, we're going to have this exact problem in 5 to 10 years' time, because there's not enough grid and a generation that is happening nearby, and therefore we need to innovate, and we can do that with flexibility or with building new type of infrastructure. And I think also that baseload energy, not intermittent like wind and solar that operates when the sun is up or the wind is blowing, but more solutions like biogas or geothermal energy, or who knows, maybe one day nuclear fusion, but that's decades from now, not even 2030. They will be an important part in decarbonizing the energy and electrical system. I think we have some time for questions. Exactly 3 minutes. Anyone from the audience have questions?
Hi, Eyal from Cognifiber, and good morning and thank you. I want to ask about data centers. So the projection of data centers in terms of electricity is hundreds of megawatts and approximately 10% of the total energy in 2030. How do you think, what would be a good strategy to try to reduce the consumption and carbon footprint in data centers? And hence we do that.
I'm happy to take that, and please. So the strategy to decarbonize data centers, I think it's a double strategy. On one hand, you need to do the most efficient cooling possible. You see amazing companies in that sector, both globally and in Israel. I think Zutacor is a famous company, actually located in Sderot, and still doing very well despite the October 7th. And other companies are actually extracting the waste heat and generated from those data centers and then creating renewable energy, which is baseload. The second strategy to decarbonize those data centers is to reduce the heat generated in the first place. To do that, you can either improve the algorithm, so the CPUs will consume less energy, and you can build better microchips, so they will not emit as much heat in the first place. But I completely agree with you that not only with blockchain, but specifically with AI, this problem is only going to grow.
Nothing more to add, just the fact that you have to look for countries that supply renewable energies, so the carbon footprint would be close to zero in the end.
Any other question?
Okay, thank you. I'm Roy from ClimaTech. I have a question about climate and water and utilities in Europe. So what do you see as the pressures and challenges that climate brings specifically to the water companies in Europe and to the utilities in Europe? Specifically to the climate, to the environment. So it's not necessarily the resilience of the grid, but the environment of the grid. So utilities, water, and climate. What are the challenges and pressures that you see?
So I'm less familiar with water technologies, but I think that one challenge that utilities have that is significant is basically the challenge of using the existing infrastructure, which is it's limited, and there's a very it's very challenging to build more and more infrastructure. On one hand, you have with climate, you have more renewables entering the grid, but it's very difficult to use the existing infrastructure and basically add more capacity without sophisticated technologies. And that's, I think, another area that is very interesting, how to utilize the existing infrastructure in a more efficient manner. For example, by having more accurate monitoring of the infrastructure, and this way increasing the capacity efficiency of the existing infrastructure. I think that's a very interesting solution, and it answers the challenge of just more renewables and increasing demand with home electrification and so on. So I think that's a key challenge and a very interesting opportunity for solutions.
Thank you, Ad. We need to be just on time and finish before I'll get more threats from the organizers. I wanted to thank all of the panelists, Olaf, Achim, and Ohad. It was really interesting to hear your thoughts about what are the biggest challenges and opportunities when it comes to food tech and climate tech. Thank you for the amazing questions, and thank you, Gili, for organizing this wonderful event. It's not that obvious to have so many people in one room, especially in those times, and I just want to bless us all to be back to normal with our loved ones as soon as possible. So thank you very much.
Thank you.